Good morning. Today's the 13th day of Kislev, a beautiful Wednesday morning, and we are beginning a new essay on page 79 in the Chayenu. Follow along if you have one. An overview of essay 5. There are certain halachas, certain Torah laws pertaining to potential rare scenarios, which may in actual fact never occur in our reality. Imagine if you learn a law that you're never going to face, you're never going to see. Nonetheless, since everything derives from a higher supernal source, which we learned recently, it's within the source, supernal wisdom, that these halachas exist. And on that level, one's study is very important, obviously. So the mitzvahs requiring action were a major theme in Essay 4. The author now begins to explain how their observance elevates the sparks of holiness that originated in the world of chaos, tohu, that are embedded in this material world, and they cause godliness to descend there. The same, it was stated, is true regarding the study of the laws that govern the mitzvahs, the commandments. The Alter Rebbe went on to say that this applies as well to the prohibitory mitzvahs, where one cannot apply the dictum that it is considered as if one performed the mitzvah. With the prohibition, you don't perform the mitzvah. But you still do it, but you don't do it. How does that work? Moreover, Torah study remains valuable even with regard to laws concerning situations that will never occur, as we're going to discuss today. So let us understand how this applies to the details of the laws that never occur at all. And possibly never were applicable and never will be applicable. They never the opportunity to do this mitzvah will never come to pass. Okay, it never happened, it never will happen. For example, for example, the detailed laws of pigul and the like. What are those laws? Let's see if he's going to explain them. He's not going to talk about them now, but they are mitzvahs that the Kohen, do we have any Kohanim here? No. So the Kohen has to have certain thoughts in mind when he brings the sacrifice. But if you're not a Kohen, you're never going to have the opportunity to do that, period, end of story. Now, the Kohen would do it. Mirz Hashem, when Beis Hamikdash comes. But we are never going to do those mitzvahs. So how does the study of these laws extract, refine, and elevate the sparks of Tayu? It's known to who? Those who study Tanya. It's known. Because we just learned this recently, that every prohibited thing in the world has a source and a root of life in the klippas. If it didn't have a source and life in the klippas, it wouldn't exist. Even one who crinkles his hair. Even the hairs on our head, they seem not to have life, right? If you cut them, you get a haircut, it doesn't hurt, but nevertheless, it grows. So even one who crinkles his hair and the like receives his life force at that moment from the spiritual chambers of the klippas, as is explained in the Kabbalah. So even certain prohibitions that never became practical issues in this world, they'll never come to pass. Nevertheless, still the roots actually do exist in the chambers of the klippas. And even the particular instances that never occurred and may never occur. For example, errors and unwitting misdeeds, like when we're doing meiser, erroneously calling the 9th sheep the 10th. When's the last time you messed up your sheep and you called the 9th one the 10th one instead of the 9th one? Harry, huh? All the time. You do? Oh my gosh. Well, it never happened to me. the kind of eventuality that cannot be deliberate and thereby cause klipa to light upon it. Possibly in these circumstances, maybe the life force of these klippas will not exist. So what's the deal here? There's a little note which is inserted by the Tzemach Tzedek, and he says, "Nidali mashakosov yochalia is alma de law brira brirale hainu mishum shashkaga is ba'ois minoiga imkein yeshleim yeshleim shayrish beichois noiga." He says that he says that the Alter Rebbe uses the word possibly, implying uncertainty because it's possible that it would come from noiga. It may appear, therefore, to be said that in the original it's the chambers of noiga. Okay. Become a koyim akoponim yeshna mitzius lahavdil bechachmei law shenispashta beprat zeh l'Moshe Rabbeinu olav shalom Sinai. So you would think this mitzvah that's never been done before and may never happen, why would it even exist? And he says, nevertheless, this mitzvah was given in detail to Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai. Fascinating, no? K'maimer ma'ashe kol tamid basik asi l'chadish. Whatever it says, there's an expression, whatever teaching any seasoned student will one day innovate was taught by Moshe. Anytime you come up with a chiddush, what is chiddush? Chadasha means something new was discovered. If you find out that something new is discovered in Torah, yes, you could feel good about rediscovering it, but it was already given to Moshe Rabbeinu and Har Sinai v'chol pratei Abayis Rabbi Yirmiyah. Also, all the detailed arguments, queries, questions of Rabbi Yirmiyah were also posed by, and they posed, Rabbi Yirmiyah posed many hypothetical possibilities, so much so that he was driving the teachers and the students nuts, and they escorted him from the house of study, as the Gemara relates in Baba Basra 23b. He kept coming after Shaila after Shaila after, yeah, but what if this? You know, the student that said, yeah, but what if, it's never going to end? And that's what he was coming up with. Obviously, his queries involved situations that were entirely unlikely to ever take place. And it was, what do they call it? A filibuster, right? This is wasting time. Nothing was happening. Okay. So she wrapped him, whatever he brought. Okay, some of the examples of what he brought, but I don't want to get into that. Nevertheless, all these details, even the questions that were so hypothetical that they would never come up, says that even those details were given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. Actually, that's exactly what infinite means. There's no end to there's no end to the supreme wisdom of the laws that are vested in the Torah, since infinity is actually clothed in the Torah. And the only time that infinity could be contained is in the Torah, because the Torah is eternal and everlasting. Every particular of the law is a gate drawn down to and from the supreme wisdom. Okay, there's a lot there. We're not going to be able to get up to everything. Oof. We'll push on a little bit more, and then we're going to have to go. The Yasad Berata, so all these different halachas and their derivatives and the questions on them are all from Malchus and is drawn down and invested in Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya. Here we go again, the different levels, and the Alter Rebbe will not conclude by explaining how this brings about the refinement of the sparks. So remember, we were talking about how when we learn Gemara and Mishnah, it comes from very high level, and now we're supposed to learn Torah, even the laws that are not applicable, because they come from the source of the Eirei Seif, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and they come down through an entire chain of descent until they come to this world, and they are scattered as sparks throughout the world, and it's our job to elevate them and make it a place for Hashem to dwell. The Noida, as is known, it's known, right? We know this stuff already. Ki inikas haklipa macharaim di yutzviras di kedusha. Frat milbushim di yutzviras di bria yitzira anasi. It's known that the nurture of the klippa is derived from the hinder part of the 10 spheres of holiness, and more specifically from the garments of the sphere of bria yitzira nasiya befrat di yitzira vasiya hama oiravim beklipos. And more precisely, they come from the yitzira nasiya that are intermingled with klippas. So the evil of the klippas, as we said, there has to be a little evil in the world. In everything good, there's a little evil. The evil of the klippas in the worlds of Yitzira and Asiya is intermingled with good. As is known, their nurture derives from the state of garments. Through the study of the laws in speech and in thought, they become separated and distinct and sacred and holy. So when we learn the laws, very important that we think about when you're learning something, you're using your thought, but we're trying to use our speech as well. When we learn, we should articulate and enunciate and verbally say the words. And it's stated here in Tikkunim and Raya Mehemna to separate the klippas from holiness. How do we separate the klippa from the holiness? Klippa is an outer shell. Klippa could be neutral, klippa snega, but still we want everything to be pure. How do we separate? Like the oil on Hanukkah, right? Could have used tainted oil. We want the pure oil with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. So how do we separate the klippa from the holiness? Through studying Torah. Now, how does the Torah study accomplish the separation of the refinement of the klippa? Is to remove, you want to eat a fruit. So when you peel an orange, all those white stringy things, the cleaner you get the fruit, the better it tastes. You don't want to have any external things on it. So how does Torah study accomplish the separation and refinement of the klippas? That it's pure and beautiful. When the issue of the supernal wisdom originally in Torah was unable to affect this, and there came about a mixture of good and evil in the worlds of Yitzir and Asiyah, if such a higher place cannot refine the Torah, make it pure, how are we going to make it pure? Just by learning it. Seems like a simple fix, but how is that even possible? I know. When it says that for they did not recite the blessing before the Torah, and this was the answer to the prophets, why was the land destroyed? In Yirmiyahu, I don't know what the background is on that. We'll have to look it up. The inner meaning of this is that the people of those times failed to draw down the infinite light into their study of Torah. For Baruch, the root of the holy tongue, means blessing, signifies drawing down. When you make a bracha, you're actually drawing down godliness into your life. Evil cannot be separated from good by Torah alone. It must be studied in the proper manner. We have to say, Baruch Ata Hashem, Noisen HaTorah, Hashem B'chabanu V'Kolamim, Hashem separate us from all the nations. Baruch Ata Hashem, Noisen HaTorah. This separation is affected by drawing down the infinite light into the supreme wisdom, clothed in them in the laws of the Torah. Through Chachma, they're sorted out through the infinite light that's within it, meaning within Chachma. So this is equally true regarding the study of laws of prohibitory commandments, not just the positive mitzvahs that we do, but even those that most probably will never occur. But the Torah itself accomplishes this purification. So this vamshachazu, this light, which is drawn down, this godly light, it's spiritual light, of course. By the supernal likeness of man, who is also occupied in these laws above. So when a man studies Torah below, his source, the root of his neshama, also engages in Torah study as well. You mentioned this yesterday. We don't understand it. The man upstairs, that's, where our neshama comes from, he gets it. We just have to plow forward, right? We don't always understand everything in life. So his source above, in its source, in Nukva of Zav, Briya, Yitzir, Asiya, yuvan chiyuv kol nefesh ruach neshama lahashlim kol tayag machshava divramaisa. We can understand now the requirement that every soul, every nefesh ruach neshama fulfill all the 613 commandments, not just fulfill them, but through thought, speech, and deed. Shem prate halacha is the meaning of the details of the laws. Or thought and speech refer to the study of all these details. Utzerichais lavai begilgol lahashlim hatera b'pshat remesh drus soid. Any nefesh and ruach neshama that fails to complete the mission of this world has to be reincarnated. Comes back, the neshama has to come back to fulfill the Torah in its simple meaning, in illusions, in homiletics, and in secrets. Pshat, remez, drush, and soid. Kidei levar kol berudim hanoigos lahem mikol hamapach harapach shehi koimas adam shlema, in order to sort out and refine all that pertain to them from among the 288 sparks that constitute the complete structure of man. That's why we have to try to fulfill every possible mitzvah that comes our way. Tayag b'chinas closer prat. So we have the 288 sparks. But we also have the 613 categories, general and particular, that relate to each individual soul. We're almost done. In the time to come, when Mashiach comes, when the refinement is completed, at that time, we're not going to worry about the prohibitory mitzvahs. We're going to do and learn Torah study, and it's going to be in the form of doing good alone. And it's going to be, everything's going to be it's going to be holy and pure. There's going to be no more klippa involved, no more outer shell. It's going to be pure good. Its purpose will be to elevate. So if all the sparks are elevated and everything's refined, so what's the purpose? It's going to be to elevate even further. That's why a soul is up in heaven, and we say the neshama should have an aliyah on the yard site. Oh, it's already in heaven. It's already in Gan Eden. But there's always room to grow. There's infinite levels where it can go higher and higher and higher towards Hakadosh Baruch Hu and the Or Ein Sof. I'm sorry, I'm going to take back what I said before. That we will learn the 365 prohibitions, but why? Not to know how and what not to do, because we're not going to do them, but to elevate them to their source, the holy attributes of severity. To sweeten them, like we do on Hoshana Rabbah, we sweeten the severity of the decree, right? We sweeten them through the attributes of kindness that are in the 248 positive commandments, and to fuse them, the attribute of severity, with the kindness. By Al-Kain, the entire Torah is thus in general, eternal in general and in detail. All those questions that came up before, as far as Rabbi Yirmiyah was asking, and any particular mitzvah or even a detail of a mitzvah that will never come up, all of those are included and eternal, meaning even all the detailed laws that have no practical application will be elevated through us learning and discussing them. Even the individual laws of the 365 prohibitions are branches of the Torah's general statement. All of them have a source above in the 5 holy attributes of severity. Just as the 365 prohibitions themselves are above in the state of quote-unquote blood that animates the organs of the vessels of Zah. You can think a person has 365 blood vessels. We could live without 1 or 2. No, you need every single one of your organs, limbs, sinews, veins, arteries, etc., right? Even if they seem irrelevant. So the takeaway is today that Torah law will never, even a Torah law that will never be relevant in reality, is also the Chachma from the divine wisdom. And its study is spiritually relevant. Even if we will not apply this law practically in reality, but still we're able to make a better and brighter world by learning and by studying these laws and thereby elevating them as well. Wow, that's heavy, right? All right, so we can't skip any laws. A lot of times you want to learn laws that are applicable. You want to learn laws like how to kasher your kitchen. We talked about that yesterday, Perry, right? How to kasher the kitchen and where to put the mezuzah and things like that we're going to be dealing with. Here he says that even laws that you're never going to do are still very, very important. Have a good
Rav,
day, everyone.
Rav, do you have a minion for the Kavura?
Baruch Hashem, I believe we do.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.